Okay. Good afternoon. Disappointing game in a lot of ways. I think the most disappointing thing for me was that we had over 500 youth football players here today from around New Jersey, and I was really excited to have them here, and I know they were excited to be here, and I really wanted to give them a good experience and a good showing of what Rutgers football is, and I don't think we did that today. So that's disappointing to me. I got to give credit to Coach Tuberville and his staff and his football team. We knew they had a good football team, and they out-executed us today. They out-coached us today. I think they did a great job. Questions?
Val, will you reevaluate? This is the second straight time you come off of a bye with a bad home loss. Is that something you'll reevaluate, how you approached, how you prepared, anything like that?
We constantly reevaluate those types of things, and certainly we'll reevaluate this. But we would reevaluate whether we won or we lost. We try to look back and say, hey, what did we handle well? What didn't we handle well? What do we think we can do better? And some of those things are always dictated by circumstances that aren't consistent. What's the health of your football team? Who's available to you? Who's not available to you? But absolutely, we'll reevaluate it.
Kyle, when you watched defensively what their offense was able to do to your defense, did you see it as a scheme thing, as or coverages blown? What did you see happening out there?
It wasn't a matter of coverages being blown. I thought they did a good job of isolating some of our players in man-to-man coverage. So I give them credit for that. I didn't want to look at the film and look back at it, but I don't think it was an issue of coverages being blown, but I thought they did some things with some switch routes versus man-to-man coverage, and then getting some good matchups, linebackers on slots, those type of things.
Kyle, this is the second loss like this in the span of 3 home games. Are you concerned that this program is in a crisis right now?
I'm not. I think that when you look in the eyes of the players in the locker room and you see the determination that they have to get better, and you see the way they prepared this week, and I've said this many times, if you have a good week of practice, it doesn't guarantee you're going to have a good game. And unfortunately, today's an example of that for us. But what it does guarantee you is that you're going to move in the right direction eventually. And I think we're doing that. And there's a lot of young players out there that are getting better. Unfortunately, that gets lost when you have a score like we did today.
I guess there's a difference between not a good game and a non-competitive game. I mean, does it concern you that both of those games were just almost from the first half non-competitive?
I think the last one was 14-14 midway through the second quarter. I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I understand what you're saying, and it does not shake my resolve. It does not cause me to question whether or not this football team is going to get better. And I wish I could control the timing of that all the time, but when you have a guy like Darius Hamilton, you have a guy like Batim Bajari who are out for the game, you have a guy like Lorenzo Water who's limited. There's no excuses in football, but when you have 3 quality players that aren't in there, you're going to have some younger guys out there, and we got to do the best job we can of putting those young players in a good position.
How much tougher does it get to make those changes and those fixes with just five days until the next game?
I think it's a challenge. We've already done a lot of the advanced scouting for the UCF game, and now we got to reevaluate it based on today's performance and make sure we've got the right players in the best position possible for them to help us win that game Thursday night.
Kyle, you said it doesn't shake your resolve. I mean, any concerns about what it does in the locker room 4 weeks ago, we were talking to them about BCS bowls and competing with Louisville, and now they're 5-4. Any concerns about them losing focus? The season hasn't gone the way they expected.
I do not have any concerns whatsoever about that. Those are things that as a player, it's your job to ask those questions, but as a coach and as a player, our focus has to be on 1-0. And that's it. We've got 12 one-game seasons. Right now, we're 5-4 in the first 9. The only one we can control right now is the one versus UCF Thursday night, and we will go back to work right away to make sure we're working towards being 1-0 Thursday night.
God, it seemed like there were a lot of mental lapses as well. If you want, I can cite them, but I probably don't need to now. But do you think focus was an issue today?
I think it would be naive to say that there wasn't a certain degree of distraction that happened to us over the last day or so. We have to do a better job of handling that. No one feels sorry for you for that. Things are going to happen, and the situation that we've been dealing with over the last 24 hours is one where we have to do a better job of handling it and not allowing it to be a distraction for us. Yes?
Coach, can you tell us how 19-year-old Jevon Tyree was treated?
The university's already released a statement, and I'm going to stand by that statement.
Now, his father says that contrary to what the statement says about the athletic director, saying that she spoke to the father twice and resolved this to his satisfaction, the father says he never spoke to the athletic director.
I did not see a statement or a rebuttal statement from Mr. Tyree, but the university has already released a statement. The athletic department has released a statement on the situation, and I'm going to stand by it.
Do we have any questions
Comment
on the
about
game?
this alleged behavior?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
You don't have any comment about the alleged behavior?
The university has already released a comment.
Any other questions about the game?
Just more in general, but this whole week, if you take ending with the result, that story that's been referenced, as well as some high-profile verbal decommits or whatever, just this whole week, are you concerned just about your perception? You talk about having youth kids in the stands, and you always recruit on the sidelines. Just, are you concerned this is another black eye, if that's not unfair, that you have to maybe still, worried about just the perception on the outside of what's going on with Rutgers football?
As the head football coach, I worry about everything every day. And that's my job to do that. When I talk to the recruits that are committed to us, we talk about what the future of Rutgers football is going to be, the championship program that we're building here, and something that started 9 years ago, and some would say maybe even a couple years before that, but I've only been here for the last 9 seasons. So I don't concern myself with that. I know we've got a recruiting class right now that is going to be a high-quality class. The ratings are the ratings. Players like Ray Rice, Devin, and Jason McCourty, they weren't very highly rated players, so I don't know that the ratings are always indicative of what the outcome of those recruiting classes will be. But I think as I speak to the recruits that are committed to us, I find an energy and an optimism and a positivity that I'm really excited about.
Kyle, from a football perspective, is it harder for you to keep the team focused on football on a week like this? I mean, not that I want to keep it on the same topic, but is it harder for a coach to keep his players just on the game when all this is going on?
I think that's part of our challenge every week. And those distractions, whatever they are, they come in a lot of shapes and forms. And as a college football coach and as a college football coaching staff, that's part of our job is to try to teach the players how to stay focused on being 1-0. And in our culture, we use the word CHOP, the ability to focus on the task at hand.
Got time for 2 more?
Kyle, is it just the pass rush wasn't really that effective today. Is it just too difficult to disguise this young secondary and this pass defense, particularly when you're not getting, and it could be partly their scheme, obviously, with the quick hitters, but when they're not getting a pass rush, is it just at the point now you can't hide these kids on pass defense?
Well, I think that's something we got to look at as we go back and we look at the film. There's certainly when you play teams that are going to play the game in 10 and 11 personnel, the disguise factor becomes harder to achieve, and you have to hold your positions longer and longer. And younger players have a tendency not to. They want to be in position, and as they get more and more mature, they realize that they can get to those positions a little bit later in the cadence, a little bit later in the snap count, so that the quarterback can adjust his protections.
Kyle, this is kind of, I guess, 2 questions masked as one, but considering how high you were on Gary's performance last week, is this in his decision making, is this a step back? And then also Paul James, how did he look?
Not really a step back in decision making. Both of those interceptions. One of them was a route that didn't get broke off at the right depth, and the other one Gary threw a little early. The decision was correct, but the timing of it was off. Unfortunately, I think he'd like to have that one back. With Paul James, I was pleased with the way he ran, and I think he'll come out of this game healthy enough to help us on Thursday night.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.